Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. You know, when you pour a glass of milk, have you ever really stopped to think about how it got to you? I mean, it seems so simple, right? Cow, carton, fridge, but nope. That carton is actually the finish line of this incredible, high-stakes race against time, bacteria, and physics itself. We're about to pull back the curtain on the whole thing.
So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to follow that milk's journey, step by step. Literally, from the second it leaves the cow, it's on this crazy adventure facing a gauntlet of purification, standardization, and critical safety checks. So let's get into it. What really happens in that super critical window of time between the farm and your fridge?
Okay, so the journey kicks off with the single biggest challenge of all, spoilage. Because you got to understand, as soon as that milk is out, it's basically a ticking biological time bomb.
Right, so the thing you've got to get is that raw milk, it's not just some inert white liquid. It's more like a living ecosystem. Think about it. It's warm, it's packed with nutrients. I mean, it is the perfect five-star resort for bacteria to just go wild.
And I'm not kidding when I say go wild. Get this, at that warm temperature, the number of bacteria can literally double every 20 minutes. That means, in just a few hours, a single drop can be just teeming with millions of them. It is an absolute race against the clock that the dairy cannot afford to lose.
So how do you win a race like that? Well, the very first, most important weapon in the arsenal is temperature. They have to chill it and fast. By crashing the temperature down to 5 degrees Celsius or even lower, they're basically hitting a giant pause button on all that crazy bacterial growth. This is what buys them the precious time they need for the rest of the journey.
Okay, so the clock is paused, the milk is chilled, now it's time for what I like to call the Great Milk Cleanup. And the goal here is pretty simple. Get everything out of it that isn't milk. We're talking visible stuff and even the stuff you can't see.
And believe me, you might be surprised at what they're dealing with. I mean, we're on a farm, right? So you're going to have dust, bits of straw from bedding, maybe some hair. You get the picture. And yeah, your little kitchen strainer, that's not going to cut it here. Not even close. Dairies have a much more intense process.
They run it through this 3-step purification gauntlet. Step 1 is straining, which gets rid of all the big, obvious stuff. Then, filtration. That catches the finer particles. But the last step is the really impressive part. That's clarification. And it deals with impurities that are totally microscopic.
So how on earth did they do that? Well, with just incredible, mind-bending force. They use these massive centrifuges that spin the milk so unbelievably fast, it generates forces up to 6,000 Gs. That's 6,000 times the force of gravity. It's this insane power that literally slingshots even the tiniest bits of sediment or cells right out of the milk. All right, so now our milk is super clean, but it's still not the milk you buy in the store. The next big hurdle is dealing with natural variation. It's all about taking this raw, natural product and turning it into that perfectly consistent drink that we all expect every single time.
First things first, you've got to separate the cream from the milk. You know, back in the day, they just let it sit and gravity would slowly do its thing. We're talking a day, maybe a day and a half. Today, forget about it. They use centrifugal separators that are a mind-boggling 6,500 times faster. What used to take a day now takes just a few moments.
Now this next part is all about getting the recipe just right. So you've got your cream over here and your skim milk over there. The dairies then become like master chefs, blending them back together in very precise amounts to hit these strict legal standards for things like fat and something called solids not fat, or SNF. This is literally why your whole milk always tastes like whole milk and your skim milk is always skim.
But wait, there's another classic problem. If you just leave milk to sit, what happens? The cream rises to the top, right? The solution to that is a process called homogenization. Basically, they take the milk and force it through this teensy tiny valve at insane pressures, like 2,500 psi. It's so violent that it just obliterates the large fat globules, shattering them into these microscopic particles that are so small they just stay suspended everywhere.
And honestly, this one process is why the milk you drink is the way it is. It's the reason you never have to shake the carton to mix the cream back in. It's why milk has that uniform, pure white color. And it's what gives it that smooth, consistent feel in your mouth. It's all about homogenization.
Okay, we have come a long way. The milk is clean, it's consistent, but now we've reached the absolute climax of this whole journey. This is where we go to war with the invisible enemy, the dangerous pathogens that could be lurking in there.
And you know what? I really want to pause here for a second, because every single thing we've talked about so far, it's all been leading up to this moment.
This next step, heat treatment, is without a single doubt the most important step for your safety.
And this is exactly why it's so critical. Pasteurization, its whole job is to destroy all the nasty pathogenic microbes. We're talking about things like Salmonella, Listeria, pathogenic E. coli, the really bad stuff. This is the one process that turned milk from something that could be a serious health risk into the safe, wholesome staple we have in our fridges today.
But not all heat treatments are created equal. You've got your standard pasteurization, which is often called HTST. That's high temp, short time. It gets the milk hot enough for long enough to kill the bad guys, but it's gentle enough to keep the flavor pretty good. The trade-off? You got to keep it in the fridge. Then you have UHT, or ultra high temperature treatment. This is way, way hotter, but for just a couple of seconds. This process just annihilates everything, including the spores that can survive normal pasteurization. And the result? Milk that can sit on a shelf for months without refrigeration.
But here's the secret. The magic of that UHT milk isn't just the heat treatment, it's the packaging. It's called aseptic packaging. The super sterile milk goes into a pre-sterilized package, and this all happens inside a totally sterile environment. It's like a clean room in a sci-fi movie. This process makes absolutely sure that zero contamination can get back into the milk after it's been cleaned.
But through this whole epic journey, there is one critical unsung hero. Because none of this, the cooling, the cleaning, the pasteurization, none of it would matter one bit if the pipes and tanks and machines themselves weren't perfectly, spotlessly clean. Seriously, cleaning and sanitation is the bedrock of the entire dairy industry.
And they don't do this with a scrub brush and some soap. Modern dairies use this amazing automated system called Cleaning in Place, or CIP. It's this whole program sequence: a pre-rinse to get the big stuff off, then a hot caustic wash, a rinse, then an acid rinse to deal with mineral deposits, another rinse, and finally a sanitization step. It's an intense process that ensures every single surface the milk touches is pristine for the next batch.
So there you have it. From that initial race against bacteria, through a purification gauntlet with 6,000 Gs of force, to a final safety-sealing blast of heat, that is the incredible journey your milk takes. So, the next time you're in the dairy aisle, you'll know. Those words on the carton, pasteurized, homogenized, UHT, they're not just marketing terms. They're clues. They're chapters in this amazing story of science and safety. So go take a look. What does the label on your milk really tell you now?